We're starting already? I haven't even finished uploading my Facebook status yet.
What is it, if I may ask?
Oh, nothing much. I thought about the frequent use of the internet and its relation with the behavior of teenagers on the internet. A pleasant day, Ma'am Dimla. A pleasant day, Sir Santos. A pleasant day, our dear panelists. We are the Group 2 and we are here to present to you our study entitled Frequent Use of the Internet and its Relation with the Behavior of Teenagers on the Internet. But first, let us meet our presenters for today.
I'm Vince Jonathan Escarating.
I'm Kenneth B. Garcia.
I am Jaime Marcelino Jr.
And I am Arjun Morawan, and first, we're going to discuss our research variables. Our independent variable is the frequent use of the internet, and our dependent variable is the behavior of teenagers on the internet. And with this presentation, we will going to answer the following questions. Is there really a significant relationship between the frequent use of the internet and the behavior of teenagers on the internet? And how frequent use of the internet affects the behavior of teenagers on the internet, if it affects them positively or negatively. But how did we came up with this study? So there is an existing study made by Kemp in 2019 as cited in Chen et al. 2021 that there are nearly 4.3 billion people who uses the internet worldwide. So imagine having this vast amount of people who uses the internet. And with this and regards to this information, we want to address the effects of too much internet exposure to the teenagers, especially on their behavior. It is also highlighted in the study made by Domov et al. In 2019, which is the problematic media use or the PMU. It is the extreme utilization of computerized media or gadgets that meddle with the young adults working. And it has been a focal point of concern, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. And here are some related studies that were made as a basis of our study. We go on first with the positive RRLs. So university students can access the internet as part of their educational classes, and they can do so at their institution or dormitory, which is right since we are forced to switch into the online modality. And according to Kaplan 2002, as cited in Acturk 2020, individuals who have difficulty forming strong relationships in real life may become addicted to the internet as means of socialization or belonging to a group. Since we also have a term called introversion, which is the exact opposite of extraversion, it is found helpful as it is their only way to socialize with each other. And after the positive RRLs, here are now the counterpart. Shaw and Black 2008 stated that internet addiction refers to the uncontrolled and excessive obsessions, urge, and behaviors associated with using the internet. And according to Sally et al. In 2021, internet addiction has been classified as a formal disorder by World Health Organization or WHO. It means that spending more time on the internet can really cause distress as well as disablement. And according to the Parents Together Foundation in 2020, as cited in Custodio 2021, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, adolescents have particularly expanded time spent web-based during the pandemic. And as you can see, all of the negative effects of too much internet exposure actually align with each other. And now, let us move on to our statement of the problem, instrument, and our ethical considerations to be presented by Vince Jonathan Karating. Vince?
Thank you, Mr. Arjun. So, to start off in our statement of the problem, I want to inform you that there are three statements of the problem in our study, and those are the following. First one is, how does the frequency of internet activity be described on the following dimensions? And the following dimensions are uh, the first one is number of social media. The second factor is the hours of exposure. The third factor is the general internet usage. The next statement of the problem is what are the teens' behavior on the internet based on the following parameter. And those parameters are physical aggression, verbal aggression, anger, and hostility. And for the last statement of the problem, which is asking, does frequency of internet exert a significant effect on the behavior of teens on the internet? So, The SOP's goal is to determine how the behavior of teenagers on the internet connects with the frequency of the internet usage, which can be answered with the help of the results from the three SOPs. And now let's move on to our instrumentation. The questionnaires that were utilized by the researchers were already validated by experts. The questionnaires were inspired and based on the Bass and Perry in 1992 Aggression Questionnaire and Young in 1996 Internet put into use by other researchers. The selected respondents are the senior high school students from one of the Catholic schools in Bulacan. And there are a total of 160 respondents who answered the questionnaires. The Likert scale was used in formulating the questionnaires for the convenience of the respondents to have them answer it easier and faster. For other people to understand much more, the Likert scale involves a set of statements which respondents can pick to rate their answers to evaluative questions. It is according to VOG 1999. The first part of questionnaire will be utilized to determine the teenager's internet aggression using the internet addiction test by Young in 1996. And it is consists of 20 questions for the first part. For the second part of the questionnaire, it is consists of 4 subparts, which are the following: physical and verbal aggression, anger, and hostility. And now, let us move on to our ethical considerations. In accordance with the guidelines of Committee of Publishing Ethics or COPE, editors and publishers have been required to ensure that research is conducted ethically. The researchers made sure that all of the study participants signed off on the start of data collection. The participants signed a consent form acknowledging that they would be participating in the study, and they were aware of their rights to access their information as well as they have the rights to withdraw at any time. To avoid self-identifying utterances, the participants' identities are likewise protected anonymously. And now to continue the presentation further, here is Mr. Mark Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Karating. Here are the results that came up with our survey. So problem 1.1, how much social media do teenagers use? The table shows the percentage of the teenagers on how many social media they have. 15% answered 1 to 2 social media accounts, 51.9% answered 3 to 4 social media accounts, and 33.1% answered more than 4 social media accounts. So problem 1.2. The table shows the percentage of the teenagers and how long they are exposed on the internet. 61.3% answered more than 10 hours, 30% answered they use the internet 6 to 10 hours, and 8.7% answered they use the internet 1 to 5 hours a day. So problem 1.3. The average of the respondents that answered that they are addicted to the internet are 32.65, 30.55 for usually, 42 for about half the time, 31.75 for seldom, and 23.05 for not at all. So problem 2.1. The average of the respondents that answered that they always get physically aggressive on the internet are 77.4, 35.2 for usually, 26 for about half the time, 13.8 for seldom, and 7.6 for not at all. So problem 2.2. The average of the respondents that answer that they always get verbally aggressive on the internet are 42. 36.2 for usually, 45.2 for about half the time, 25.2 for seldom, and 11.2 for not at all. So problem 2.3. The average of the respondents that answered that they always get angry on the internet are 35.9, 32.6 for usually, 38.6 for about half the time, 28.9 for seldom, and 24.1 for not at all. So problem 2.4. The average of the respondents that answered that they always show hostility on the internet are 34.6. 30.5 for usually, 35.9 for about half the time, 29.8 for seldom, and 29.4 for not at all. And lastly, so problem number 3. This study is conducted to determine the relationship between internet addiction and aggressive behavior of the students from one of the Catholic schools in Malolos, Bulacan. While conducting the study, the researchers found out that internet addiction does have an impact on the mental health of the students, as their anxiety and depressive symptoms are affected by internet addiction. Internet addiction is associated with increasing the aggressive conduct of the students. Now, we are going to proceed to conclusion and recommendations to be presented by Jaime Marcelino.
As the pandemic continues, the only way for the teenagers to socialize is through the internet. This can cause them to have internet addiction and may cause negative effects on their health. Through the survey the researchers conducted, this study found out that the teenagers that have more than one social media account are more likely to spend more time on the internet and are more likely to be addicted to the internet. It is evident in this study that social media takes up all of the free time of teenagers. Based on the results of the survey, most of them are trying to cut some time off of social media, but eventually they fail. The majority of the teenagers who answered the survey questionnaires are males. Even though they use social media almost all of the time, it is only seldom for their works and academic performances to suffer. And frequent use of the internet does have an impact on the behavior of teenagers on social media. It is observable to the gathered responses of the study that it has an impact to them. And for the recommendation part, the researchers of this study recommend teenagers to focus more on socializing and developing more hobbies. The teenager must use the internet in good manner by utilizing it to gather information aside from using it for entertainment purposes only. As parents to their children, they should understand how internet addiction influences them mentally. In line with this, parents should help their children to not rely or dwell with social media so much that they sacrifice their health with time spent on the internet. Before we proceed to our last recommendation, we would like to acknowledge the limitation of the study. And to begin with, the study was only conducted on small sample and only selected in one university. Initially, the researchers opted to use simple random sampling with 359 respondents, but left with the choice of using convenient sampling with only 160 respondents due to lack of participants. Secondly, the data were gathered using convenient sampling. Finally, except time spent on the internet, other demographic data such as age and sex are not considered in this study. That is why it is helpful for the future researcher as we recommend them to also compare the sexes as well as the ages of the teenagers and how they are different from one another. Future research into the behavior of teenagers on the internet should focus more on establishing how internet addiction influences a teenager mentally. Furthermore, while this study was measured, the teenager time spent on the internet and their behavior, observational studies are required to get more insight into the different pattern of behavior of the teenagers on the internet. Before we finish our presentation, we would like to present a short video clip that is related to our study. The floor is now open for your question and recommendation.